All right. So, good evening. My name is Ryan Marks, and I am co-presenting with Wes Eldridge. And right now, we just have a white screen in front of us because what we are doing is demonstrating how to use Open Broadcaster software, which is some live switching software. And I'm going to once I get things set up, Wes to be able to demonstrate what he's doing with a web-based um, instructions to a robot.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Always fine.
So, good evening. My name is Ryan Marks, and so there's the delay of how long it is before things actually show up. I'm gonna mute that. The audio sounds good. So what I have on the screen is just the white background. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on and capture the screen that you see on the large television. So to do that in Open Broadcaster software, I want to capture a display, and I'm going to call it OBS, and then I'm going to specify that it's this display 0. So what you'll see is this tunnel effect, and that's going to be that for a little bit until we start putting some things in place. But I wanted people on the live stream to be able to see this because that's what they're seeing now. And these different things, the OBS, I can move it around. We can see our background in the back that you saw, and these items are layered over the top of each other. So also just to give people an idea of what's going on, I'm also going to capture the right-hand monitor I have so that people can see it. And I'm just going to call it right, although it's probably left for me. It's right for you guys. And I'm going to say, here it is there. And I'm going to shrink it down just to give people an idea of what it is that I'm working with here. So 2 different monitors. The one on the left is OBS, and the one on the right is a second monitor. Now, this screen that's here is actually one of Wes's screens. And Wes, you can make a change on there, browse to a different tab, whatever you need to do. But that's going to give me an opportunity to capture his desktop. And then this right here is Wes's webcam that's built into the laptop. Both of these screens are Hangouts. So you see, and if I bring my mouse over here, I'm actually putting the mouse on top of them instead of being in an OBS. So that's one Hangout screen, and here's another Hangout screen. Put that back. So 2 different Hangout screens, and that's going to let me be able to set up what I'm doing here. So I want to be able to capture a couple of these sources separately. So for a minute, I'm going to just work in OBS. And what I want to do is capture one of the Chrome windows. So I'm going to do a browser source a Windows source capture, and I'm going to call it Wes Desktop. And I'm going to give it a name of Google Hangouts. Now, there's 2 of them here, and hopefully it will know the difference, and it may not, which means we may need to do something fancy, which I don't have, which I wasn't prepared for, but I do have a solution for it. So instead of capturing them by title, because they actually have the same exact title, Google Hangouts running on Google Chrome. So that's a little fun, but I have a different way to do it. So I'm going to delete the one I just created, and then I'm going to create a new one. This time it's going to be the display capture. I'm going to still call it Wes's Hangout or Wes's Desktop. But I'm going to specify that I want it to be display 1, which is, so it won't let me capture it again. So this is where use of a scene makes sense. So I'm going to delete right out of here. I'm going to rename right, and I'm going to call it right-hand monitor, right? So that's still there. I want that to be in a scene. So I do want to delete it out of here and then put it in its own scene. So that one's gone. I'm going to make a new scene called right, and I'm going to call it a scene. come back. So what we have now is the original setup, and this is just sort of a playground for me to work in. But what I want to do is bring this scene in. So I can specify a scene from a list. And now I can see this again. Okay, so now what I want to do is transform this some. And by transforming it, I can specify, okay, well, how much did I actually want? So let's say I want to get, let's say I want to start slicing that one up some. So I'll say new scene, and I'll specify right again, and we'll give this one a name, rename. We'll call it, and we're going to delete this one because this one did not work. So delete, remain, remove. And we're going to rename this one Wes's Desktop. Oh, fun, there's two of them and they got renamed the same. There's all the different challenges, right? So, get rid of the duplicate. So I'm going to bring in the scene multiple times, but what I can do is transform it such that we only get a little bit of the window. So I just really want this part right here, right? That gives me his screen. So on the crops, I can specify, you know, maybe just 20 pixels from the left, 700 pixels, you know, maybe 1,000 pixels, 1,200 pixels, almost there. And it's almost a little game to figure out how much do you want to crop. I'm sure there's better ways to do some of this. I don't. Right. 100 pixels from the top, give or take, and 700 pixels, maybe 500 pixels from the bottom. And you can actually move it, you know, up and down my cursor, so that you can figure out, oh, there was the line, and now I'm happy with that, right? So what that has given me is Wes's Desktop. I'm just gonna tweak that up here because I'm anal like that. And then I can make this larger. And then just to double check to see if things were the way we wanted, Wes, would you mind making a change? Maybe drag it around some. There we go. So we do know that that's still working. I want to get, I still want to be able to get the right hand of the monitor, the camera from Wes. So I'm going to grab that scene again, Wes Desktop, and I think there's a bug here where it's renaming them, because if I want to rename this, I think it's not going to work just right. But what I still want to do the same thing, where I want to edit the transform and specify how much to crop this guy. So from the left, 600 pixels, 800. I'm not a good judge of pixels.
So this could be like a new Carney game, like
Right. From the top, again, almost the same as we did before. From the right, another 300 pixels, and from the bottom, 500. So now I've got Wes's cam, and it's just a quick, rough way to do it. You know, if I was doing this on a regular daily basis, we would have these set up where you would go ahead and know exactly where you're going to have all your inputs from. But now I've got Wes's screen, Wes's camera, and maybe I want to say hello to the audience as well. So I'm going to do a video capture, and I'll say laptop webcam, and then I'm able to specify my webcam. And now I'm in here. I probably should have done this from the start. Put me down in the corner. Maybe put Wes over here in the corner. So we got different options there. But essentially, what I wanted to do was show what I was going to do with Open Broadcaster software and maybe what Wes is doing with his project, and something along those lines.
So, so is open broadcaster something you're directly involved with, or you just
No, not at all.
figuring out how to use it?
Not at all. So, you know, I don't know if you can see on the live stream, but what I did is I just swapped over to the YouTube video, and what you guys can see is this is actually streaming on YouTube at the moment.
Okay.
No, Open Broadcaster is some free software. What would be nice is if I had multiple scenes set up. I don't have them, but what I can do is just sort of put these here with some double boxes, you know, or actually we got 4 boxes. But what I want to do is make this large so people can actually see what Wes is doing and be able to see and hear him. So at the moment, we're using the audio off of this microphone on my laptop. And I want to change that so that we can actually pick up Wes better and use the mic that's up on top. So we're going to bring one more cam into this photo, and it's going to be you guys. So I'm going to call it audience, and we're going to specify that camera. And there's the crowd. That camera's right there on top of the television. Busted. That's right. So again, this is all quite messy. And you can set different like ordering. You've messed with PowerPoint before. You can say send to front, send to back. So I can say move down or stuff like that. But I'm just going to put this right here. And the last thing I want to do is transition the microphone. So when I brought this in, which was a video source, it did bring this laptop webcam in as one of my audio sources. But I only hear audio showing up on this green line here. I only see it. I do not see any audio here. So if you notice, I did have laptop mic set up as its own audio source. And what I'm going to do is bring in the Logitech webcam mic as an audio input capture. So Logitech webcam mic. And so there's that, and I'm give it a name, or I selected it out of the list. And now there's this one. So I'm going to mute me, and the other one is picking up the room probably pretty well.
So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Does this work on Mac? Do you know?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And so people will use this to stream to Twitch. So on the menu here is game capture, which is, you know how your screen changes resolution when you toggle over to a game? I think game capture needs to be something like that. So I've not done that, but I know some other folks who have, and quite a few people will use OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, to stream to Twitch.
Yeah. I live stream with the girl who does the like open source hardware and stuff. She uses OBS.
So if do you have like a external monitor or projector or whatever, could you do this like on your desktop screen? Like, could this basically be like a cheap version of like ESPN's control room? You've got all your different cameras, you've got all your different scenes set up, and you're like, go live on camera 2, go live on camera 3, and like all that's pushing out like that's, so it doesn't look as busy as this, because I guess even the YouTube girl that you're talking about, Wes, like, you don't normally see all this.
Yeah,
it's
so you
just
can
like
set
it'll
up
show.
you can set up different scenes that have like prearranged like inputs and sources and everything, and so you can just transition
Swap between
them.
scenes.
So
Okay.
one of the options here is studio mode, such that you can have what's on the right. On the right is what's known as program, and on the left is what's known as monitor.
Nice.
Okay. So you can be monitoring a whole
Right.
bunch of things and then
Yeah.
switch to the one you're actually broadcasting.
So what I'm going to do is duplicate this scene, and Wes, your microphone is having fun times over there. It's okay. So what I'm going to call this is maybe Wes only. So I'm going to rename it to Wes only. And then what I'm going to do is delete the audience out of the shot. So that's this one. And then I'm gonna get rid of me out of the shot. So that's laptop webcam. And then I'm gonna get rid of OBS out of the shot. Now they're still in this one over here. I haven't lost them.
Right.
They're still in this one. I'm editing this one. But when you look at what's going out on the live stream at the moment, you're only seeing what's going on the right-hand screen. So I want to get rid of OBS out of the list, and that's sufficient for now. So what I'll do is put this like maybe right here, full screen, and maybe I'll tuck it up some so we can still see our logo,
And then just put
and
me
then
above the
put you
logo.
above our logo, right about there, and then I can hit transition. And what it did is it swapped screens. And so yes, you can have different scenes, and that's what these are over here, such that you can make those transitions. And I could do the same thing, Ryan only. I could do audience full screen, which is actually really easy to do. So I'm going to duplicate this one again. I'm going to say audience. Sorry, it doesn't like that sources and scenes have the same name. So audience, scene, it's a good way to make it unique. And then what I'll do is get rid of everything that's not. But I still want the audio, because if you lose the audio, you're not going to send anything out. So I still want to leave the microphones in there. So I'm going to get rid of Wes's desktop. I'm going to get rid of OBS. I'm going to get rid of laptop webcam, and I'm going to get rid of Wes's desktop. I may have said that. But so there's that. And so y'all wave this. Hold on, you're only on because you're on the monitor. But you're only, you guys in the room can see this. Those on the live stream cannot.
Right.
So now I'm going to transition, and I've made a scene.
Now we'll get to see the latency.
And the latency is about 30 seconds before you see it, but I'm going to end up transitioning back. And, if we were to watch on how long the delay is, it's about 30 seconds, but I'm going to make that transition, and then you guys would all be on the screen together.
And I mean, this kind of sounds like, TriCasters, a bunch of that equipment is super expensive.
That's why a lot of
So
people use this.
Yep.
it sounds like, if you just have a decent computer, you can,
Yeah,
you've got a lot of,
so the latency is caught up, and on the live stream, we're actually seeing the room, and so that's great. Took a while. So what's now live streaming is this, and what I'm gonna do is turn it over to. Now, I guess I'll do one thing. I'm gonna change it to West only, but I am gonna put the OBS back into the picture. So to do that, I end up having to, because I deleted it, I have to either make it again, or I have to make one that has it with it. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to say OBS plus, or West plus OBS. And then what I wish I could do, and I may be able to, I just don't know if I've seen it, is to copy this from one to another.
You just drag and drop.
I might be able to. Not something I've tried. Yes, I can. You are
And
awesome.
it adds it to it.
So did it add it though?
Maybe it was just wanting to lie to you.
Maybe it was wanting to lie. It's almost like I could go from one way to the other, but I don't know I can go both. I'm not sure what that does, but that's okay. So I'm just going to leave it on the Wes only, and then I'm going to transition over to him and let Wes do the parts about the robot.
Yeah, sure. So, it's going to be kind of weird because the camera's
job,
in front of me.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, very
cool
good.
stuff.
And you all are behind me. But part of it is that I kind of want to do this because I kind of started working on a robotics project. And so I started in doing robotics 5 or 6 years ago, and I bought this little kit. And then when I moved back to Tuscaloosa and started playing with robots again, I found out that all of my hardware was out of date. And so that gave me an opportunity to upgrade it. And so I have a challenge to kind of build a pretty like little badass robot over the next year. But we'll see how it goes. But this is like my first little part of the iteration of it. And so I've actually put him in the other room. So you'll be, I guess, a little bit slower, but so he runs over the internet. So technically, you could run him from anywhere that you would like to. So this is just gonna. I've never done this before, so maybe we need. Yeah, there we go.
I hear something.
Me too.
Did we just run into something?
Got change.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
She's so slow.
So if we have an iRobot experience, you can blame this on never having it done
Yeah.
it before.
All right, so the stream's is not that great, so I'm gonna come bring it in here.
So we heard it moving though.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess you'll eventually get to see everyone else. So the latency on the video streaming is kind of terrible, but when I was working on it, I just had this idea. I was like, hey, how cool would it be if I could control this from the web? And so I started looking at a bunch of the technologies, and that's what I happen to be in. And so we ended up, and I actually got just the video working literally right before we started. I tried to work on it last night, but it didn't quite get there. So what I'll do now is kind of show you some of the stuff that goes into it. And I may want to take the screen at this point.
Do you want to change the wire around?
Yep.
Yep, so you can just use this one right here.
The thick one?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a heavy duty cord. And of course it's going to be.
no. What did that do?
Did it mess everything up?
So,
Good luck,
No.
live streaming audience. I should have came in person.
you're right. So, I know what it is. Just one second.
It's one of the things about HDMI. Sometimes when you make the change, it results in other changes.
As you saw demo day, I'm like, the cord is pretty good.
Yeah.
Killing me.
Can I go to VGA? Can I go to VGA?
Is it your on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Saw it on my watch.
I was like, oh, that's weird. I'll just check on time.
Alright, so we need to make this.
You don't like that 4K resolution?
No, I can't
That's
see
why I can't see
anything.
anything. Where's my magnifying glass?
This mirror.
Wait till you get home. Everybody keeps going, oh yeah! I need it smaller. I need it
Yeah.
smaller.
Wait, I see you twice. This is weird.
I thought of doing a cartoon with a guy with an itty bitty little smartphone and a microscope above it saying, now the size is just right.
Can you be sure to share your desktop
I can make jokes
on one of them?
here.
On one of the mini streams.
On one of the mini screens? Yes. Yeah, that was the right one.
Yay, lucky. So I just kind of wanted to show how little effort it took to get this kind of stood up, and then also, if you're interested in talking about robotics, we can talk about robotics. So I didn't write almost anything for this. I'm using this neat little piece of technology that came out of this company called GitHub, which is they do like source management, and they have this thing that they call Electron, and it allows you to build desktop applications out of web technologies. And so we're using something called React, which is a Facebook thing, and so I just like essentially made this little basic, was it the control input somewhere? Maybe it's in containers. There we go. So I made this neat little thing that just has a bunch of buttons in it. And then they're just kind of tied to functions that I send. I literally send the robot what to do. So like forward, backward, rotate left, rotate right. And that's literally like all that that little app that you saw. That's all it is. And then of course there's stuff up here so I can connect to the bot itself. And then the software that runs on the bot is equally as simple, and it's also another web language called Python. And it was really funny. I was like, how can I control this robot remotely? And being from the web background, I was like, a WebSocket immediately. Which all that is just allows like a direct connection. So when you put stuff in one side, you guarantee it on the other side in the right order. And
What about the hardware that's within the robot?
yeah. So I guess while that's loading up, it's a Raspberry Pi. Has everyone heard of Raspberry Pi before?
Yep.
And then I'm using a motor shield from Adafruit, which is this really cool electronics company who does like open hardware, and they do a lot of really cool stuff. Like they put like lights and they do have like all this fashion integration, and so you can like do like these really really cool accessories, and I've seen like some really cool dresses people put lights in. And then it has a little camera, and I'm using my cell phone battery portable backup charger to power the robot. And there's another battery pack in there.
Real high tech with the batteries.
It's a proof of concept, like, you know. And so like pretty much everything that you like is actually running the robot is it's just pretty much this up here, which is kind of cool. So I have this little robot runtime that I built, and it just like stands up a WebSocket, so the React little Electron app can connect to it. And then I just have some handlers, and then I have something that I call the PyBot, and all it is just a little class that does some definition. So like this is really easy to hook up the motors. Like it's generally like there's 4 places that you can plug wires into, and you're just like, okay, I want front right to be the motor that's like in like piece 3 or piece 4 or piece 2. And then I have some little methods just essentially tell you to move forward and move backwards and rotate, and then you can also set the speed. And then there's just this little handler. And so you can see where I was telling it earlier, where I was literally saying forward, backwards, rotate left, rotate right. I just kind of map those to the robots, like move forward, move backward, rotate left, rotate right. And that's all it takes to build a robot that runs anywhere in the world. Except for the streaming parts, I eventually want to get it so the video actually streams into here. So it would just be up here, and you can be like in a self-contained and drive it around. And then the next thing, I'll probably also try to build like a little web app so you can control them from your phone too.
So
Where's the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
can you make him move over here and move back? That's awesome.
Quick. Where's the service running? If you're clicking the thing.
Oh, careful.
This is on my local machine.
Okay.
So it's a thing called Electron Do I have a web browser pulled up? I don't remember what it's at. But it's something, so they, a while ago, they built this IDE or kind of text editor called Atom, and it's essentially just like a Chrome browser, but it allows you to use like, I guess, Node to run everything, and so it's like really cool. Like you can do like event stuff inside of a React component, so it's like very kind of weird, but it all works. And so, what do they call themselves? Build cross-platform desktop app with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And so I just like ran this. I ran this like little script that builds it. And it just popped it up, and yeah, like I'm just using like the standard Node WebSockets library, like nothing special. And so I would probably say everything's like under 100 lines of code, and so you can control your robot from anywhere in the world with under 100 lines of code.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about, go ahead.
So let me ask you this. So, you know, on those pies, they got only so many GPIO pins. So
Yeah.
say you wanted to make something that was like a big robot, you could put it on, go
Yeah.
to battle, or, you know. How
So-
do you get enough controls?
So this one you can actually stack 4 more on top of it,
Oh, okay.
and so you can, I think you can control up to like 16 or 20 motors at a time.
Oh, wow.
But if you go over that, you would need something that would be more specific to robots that were like meant for controlling large amounts of motors.
Mm-hmm.
Would it get really hot?
Does he get hot, or does the other thing? He can. I have never. He doesn't run for that long. It's most of the time like, all right, let's see if this works. Nope. Okay, I got to restart.
What's his like uptime look like whenever he's doing stuff or whenever he's just sitting there?
So the battery pack was about 92%. Like before we started, we were sitting around talking, and he was just sitting over there, and so there's, you know, internet's running, and it has been sending video the entire time, and
Or maybe I should say like serverless. So like what's the, you know, when you run uptime, you get the 3 little numbers.
oh yeah, I don't know like how he's doing. I'm actually SSHing to him. Ryan, throw me a command.
Uptime.
Uptime.
I just uptime is a.
Is that 0.2?
Yeah.
That's nice. And then make him go forward and see if those numbers jump.
They shouldn't. Careful.
Gotta introduce a flag, probably just put top.
Like I would say the video is probably the main source of drag on it. So there's actually another battery pack that's in this base, and it's just a bunch of AA batteries. Like all these boards, they're not built to have a lot of power, a lot of amperage moving through them, and so you most of the time operate with motors or like relay, or like through like a relay or through like a motor shield or something like that. Because it would just, and I guess like with how much, with 4 motors on there with a back EMF, you could probably also mess up some of the actual board itself. So what's up? Oh, trying to get the bond
making
itself.
new scenes.
Oh. So I guess no one got to see this out there. So this is
No,
cool.
they did.
Oh,
I
did
already
they?
had one.
So what's next steps for the robot?
I'm gonna have to 3D print something to hold the camera, of course. Of course, and then maybe something like a better battery solution. I want to clean this up so it actually will stream this video
Inside the app.
inside the app, and I need to get it so that it streams better than what it's streaming
Yeah.
right now.
So would you make the robot turn so it faces the audience? Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's true.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
So I told some of the guys, like I do some contracting work at the office at Ryan, so the office that Ryan works at, and so I told some of the guys that I work there that I was going to put him in my house and then come to the office and like open my network up, and so people could drive the robot around my house. And so yeah, this is what I do in my spare time.
So let me ask you this, so
Yeah.
time and money.
Yeah.
How much time and money to make this?
So the original kit that I bought was like 150, 175, somewhere in there. But it included everything that you need to kind of build the chassis and everything you see now, a motor shield, an Arduino, and it had this little ping sensor that sat on top of it that would essentially like operate like a bat does, like it would just send sound waves out and so it could get a distance reading.
No way.
And so I was like, I can do better than that. Like, so this is kind of where this, and then the, Raspberry Pi is like $30, $35. The motor shield is like $15. The camera is $20 or $30. And then just like batteries and cables. So I don't know how much that is, but.
And then time, how much time?
Originally it took me, the first time I did it, took me a while, but I was able to, and like a Sunday afternoon and like an evening after work, get everything but the video to work. And then I got the video to work like right before I got here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it took me probably 20, 30 minutes to solder everything too.
Neat world then.
Cool.
That's pretty much how they built the last couple of Mars rovers too.
Yeah.
They're building them up just off of, consumer tech large.
Yeah, like, hopefully I'll have a robot in space one day. We'll see that. That's the long-term goal, but.
Well, thank you very much, Wes.